You ever stand in a place so vast, so endless, that it humbles you to your very soul? A place where the land itself speaks, where the wind carries the whispers of ancient warriors, lost cities, and untold secrets. That's the Sahara. This isn't just sand, no, no, no. This is history. This is power. This is resilience. It stretches across an entire continent, swallowing mountains, hiding rivers, holding memories of a time when it was green, alive, filled with lakes and forests. Imagine that, a desert that once flourished, and even now it's not empty. Life fights here. Life thrives here. The Tuareg, the Berbers, warriors of the dunes, kings of the shifting sands, they don't just survive, they own this land. Their camels, their trade, their legacy is woven into the very fabric of these endless waves of gold. But don't get it twisted, this place is unforgiving. You don't respect the Sahara, it will break you. The sun doesn't set here, it commands. Temperatures soar past 50 degrees Celsius. The sand burns like fire, and at night, cold enough to freeze your bones. And yet creatures live here. The fennec fox with ears like satellite dishes. The sidewinder that glides as it goes dunes like a ghost. And the camel, nature's masterpiece of endurance. And then there are the mirages. You ever see something so real, so close, only for it to vanish before your eyes? That's the Sahara testing you, messing with your mind. The same way it's tested traders for centuries, merchants crossing its belly with gold, salt, spices, power. This desert built empires. It connected civilizations. Now, here's the real question. What does the future hold for this place? Some see nothing but emptiness, but some see potential. This land bathed in sunlight could power the world. Solar farms stretching as far as the eye can see, turning the harshest place on earth into the greatest energy source we've ever known. The Sahara is not just a desert, it's proof of what nature can do, what people can endure, what the past has written, and what the future has yet to carve into the sands of time. You ever look at something so big, so endless, that it makes you feel small? Not in a bad way, not in a weak way, but in a way that humbles you, that reminds you there's something greater than all of us. That's the Sahara. It's not just big, it's massive, stretching across 11 countries, covering nearly the entire northern half of Africa. Over 9 million square kilometers of land that doesn't bow to anyone or anything. You stand in one place and the horizon looks like it never ends. You take a step and the land stretches farther, rolling and shifting with the wind. An ocean of sand where the waves never stop moving. But don't think it's just dunes. No, this place is more than that. It's mountains towering up like ancient guardians of the land. It's plateaus flat and endless where the wind howls across their edges, whispering secrets of the past. It's rocky plains where the ground is cracked and dry, baked by the sun for thousands of years. It's dried up riverbed scars of a time when water once carved through this land, feeding the creatures that roamed here long before we ever did. The Sahara isn't just one thing, it's many. And it stretches farther than the eye can see, farther than the mind can comprehend. You could walk for days, weeks, even months and still not reach the other side. You could lose yourself in its silence, in its space, in its sheer presence. And that's the thing, this place is alive in its own way. It moves, it shifts, it breathes with the wind. Sandstorms rise up out of nowhere, walls of dust stretching miles into the sky, swallowing everything in their path. The dunes, they don't stay in one place. They march, they drift, they reshape the very face of the land. What was once a valley could be buried by morning. What was once a towering dune could be flattened in a week. The Sahara is never still, never quiet, never settled. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you come from. It has seen empires rise and fall, seen travelers come and go, seen the footprints of merchants, warriors, explorers all erased by time, by wind, by the never-ending tide of sand. The ancient Egyptians, the Berbers, the Tuareg, the traders from Mali and Morocco, the conquerors from Rome and Carthage, they all knew this land, all crossed its vastness, all learned to fear and respect its power. Some made it through, some didn't. But the Sahara, it remained, it always remains. And yet for all its size, for all its emptiness, it isn't lifeless. There are people here, communities that have lived with the desert, not against it. The Tuareg, the blue men of the Sahara, draped in indigo, guiding their caravans through lands they've known for generations. They don't fear this place, they understand it. They read the wind, follow the stars, listen to the silence. Because in a place this vast, this endless, the land speaks, and if you listen close enough, you might just hear it. You ever feel heat so intense it wraps around you like a second skin, like the air itself is pressing down on you, daring you to keep going? That's the Sahara. This isn't your average summer heat, not the kind that makes you sweat and reach for a cold drink. No, this is something different. This is a fire from the sky, a heat so ruthless it burns the land beneath your feet, warps the air, makes the horizon shimmer like a mirage, even when you know it's not there. The sun here doesn't just shine, it commands, it turns the sand into an inferno, makes the rocks so hot they can sear flesh, drains every drop of moisture from the air until your breath feels dry in your throat. You don't just walk in this heat, you endure it, and then just when you think you understand it, just when you think you've adjusted, the night comes. And the cold. It's not just a chill, not just a relief from the sun. It's a sudden drop, a bite, a deep freeze that seeps into your bones. The same land that burned you hours ago now grips you with icy fingers, pulling every last bit of warmth from your body. You shiver, you wrap yourself in whatever you can find, and you realize this place never lets you settle. It never lets you get comfortable. It keeps you on edge, always moving, always adapting, because that's the only way to survive. The creatures here, they know the rules. The fennec fox, small and light, with ears like radar dishes, listens to the whispers of the wind, moves only when the night allows. The sidewinder snake glides across the dunes, barely touching the scorching sand, knowing that one wrong move could mean the difference between life and despair. And the camel, the master of endurance, carries the weight of the desert on its back, storing what it needs, wasting nothing, moving like time itself, slow but unstoppable. Everything in the Sahara, every creature, every person, every grain of sand, everything has learned to obey the rules of the heat and the cold. Because if you don't last long. And yet people have survived here for centuries. The Tuareg, the Berbers, the desert nomads, they've mastered this balance. They know how to travel when the sun is lowest, how to shelter when it's highest. They wrap themselves in cloth not to escape the heat, but to control it, to use it, to bend it to their will. They drink sparingly, knowing the value of every drop. They read the land, listen to the winds, follow the stars, because here nature doesn't give second chances. It doesn't forgive mistakes. It tests you, pushes you, breaks you if you're not careful. This isn't just heat and cold. This is survival in its purest form, a battle against something far older, far stronger, far more relentless than any man. You ever stand in a place and feel like it changes right in front of your eyes? Like it refuses to be just one thing, refuses to be predictable, refuses to let you define it? That's the Sahara. People hear the name and picture an endless ocean of sand, dunes stretching as far as the eye can see, golden waves rising and falling under the burning sun. And sure, those dunes are real massive, shifting, alive in their own way. But that's just one face of this land. Because the Sahara isn't just sand, it's more than that. It's bigger than that. There are places here where the dunes reach the sky, rolling like frozen waves, sculpted by the wind into towering ridges that stretch for miles. But then just when you think that's all there is, the landscape shifts. The sand gives way to vast rocky plateaus where the ground is cracked and ancient, hardened by time itself. The air is different here, the heat rising from the stone and waves, the silence so deep you can hear your own heartbeat. These plateaus stand like the bones of the earth, worn down by centuries, watching over the land like silent guardians. And then there are the mountains, yes, mountains rising from the desert floor like something out of a dream. Jagged peaks, some capped with snow, standing tall against the emptiness. The Ahagar Mountains in Algeria, the Tibesti and Shadis are places where the world feels untouched, where the rocks hold the memories of a time long before us. Valleys carved by rivers that disappeared thousands of years ago, cliffs painted with ancient drawings, proof that life once thrived where now there is only silence. But it doesn't stop there. Hidden within this vast emptiness are oases, pockets of life where the desert softens, where palm trees rise from the earth and water shimmers like a gift from the gods. These are places of refuge, places where the weary traveler finds shade, where people have lived for centuries, building homes, growing crops, defying the desert in the only way possible by understanding it, by respecting it. And then there are the salt flats, vast, white plains stretching endlessly under the sun, where the ground reflects the sky, where the horizon disappears in a dazzling illusion. They look lifeless, but even here the desert has a story to tell. Once these were lakes, massive bodies of water that have long since vanished, leaving behind only the taste of salt and the whisper of what once was. The Sahara is not one thing, it is many. It is sand and stone, fire and ice, life and emptiness. It is a place where the land shifts beneath your feet, where every step tells a different story, where nothing stays the same. One moment it feels endless, like the world itself has been swallowed by its silence. The next it reveals something unexpected, something ancient, something alive. You ever stand in a place and feel the weight of time pressing down on you? Not just years, not just centuries, but thousands upon thousands of years, stretching so far back that history itself feels young. That's the Sahara. To the world, it's a desert, a place of endless sand and silence. But to those who listen, those who look close enough, it's a museum without walls, a storybook written in stone. A place where the past was not gone, it's just waiting to be uncovered. Because this wasn't always a desert. No, there was a time when the Sahara was alive, when rivers ran through valleys, when lakes stretched out like mirrors reflecting the sky. A time when green covered the land, when animals roamed freely, elephants, hippos, antelope, creatures that now seem impossible in a place so dry. But they were here. The land tells their story, and so do the people once walked it. Before the sand, before the heat took over, humans thrived here. They hunted, they fished, they built communities, they painted their lives onto the walls of caves and cliffs, leaving behind proof that this place was once full of life. Look at the rock art of Tassili and Adjur in Algeria, carvings of people dancing, of cattle grazing, of boats sailing on water that no longer exists. These paintings are older than the pyramids, older than many civilizations we call ancient. They whisper of a Sahara that few can imagine today, a land of abundance, a land that gave, not just took. And then the change came. Slowly, relentlessly, the rain stopped, the rivers dried, the lakes vanished. The Sahara became what we know now, a vast sea of sand stretching farther than the mind can grasp. But even as it changed, people remained. The Berbers, the Tuareg, the nomads, they adapted, they survived. They learned how to live in a place where survival itself is a victory. They carried the memory of what this land once was. They built trade routes that connected empires. They turned the desert into a bridge rather than a barrier. Gold, salt, spices, all of it moved through the Sahara, carried by caravans, guided by those who knew the secrets of the sand. The Sahara wasn't just a wasteland, it was a lifeline. It fueled kingdoms, it connected Africa to the Middle East, to Europe, to the world beyond. And buried beneath the dunes, the past still waits. Fossils of ancient fish found in places where no water remains. Ruins of cities swallowed by the shifting sand. Stories carved into the earth itself telling us that the Sahara is not just what we see today. It is layers upon layers of history, a place that has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the changing of landscapes, the power of time itself. It is not just a desert, it is a reminder that the past is never truly lost, it just waits beneath the surface. You ever see a place so harsh, so unforgiving that it feels like nothing should be able to survive there? A place where the air itself is dry enough to steal the moisture from your skin, where the sun shows no mercy, where the land gives nothing for free? That's the Sahara. A desert so vast, so extreme that it should be empty, but it's not. Life is here. It has always been here, and has learned to adapt in ways that defy logic, in ways that show that survival isn't just about strength, it's about knowing when to move, when to wait, when to listen to the land itself. The people here, the ones who have called this place home for centuries, they don't fight the desert. They move with it. The Tuareg, the Berbers, the nomads, they know how to live where others would perish. They travel when the sun is low, resting in the shade, when the heat is at its peak. They wrap themselves in long, flowing robes, not to escape the heat, but to use it to trap cooler air close to their bodies, to shield their skin from the relentless sun. They don't waste water because they can't. Every drop is precious, every sip measured. They know where to find the hidden wells, the underground reservoirs that keep them alive. They've learned to read the wind, to follow the stars, to move like the desert itself, slow, steady, enduring. And it's not just the people. The animals here are masters of adaptation. The fennec fox, small and quick, with ears so large they act like natural air conditioners, releasing heat so it never overheats. The sidewinder snake, barely touching the sand as it moves, shifting its body in a way that lets it glide across the burning surface without sinking. The scorpions, the beetles, the lizards, each one has found a way to survive where nothing should. And then, of course, there's the camel. There's the ultimate survivor. It doesn't just live in the desert, it conquers it. Able to go days without water, storing fat in its hump for energy, moving through the dunes like it was born from them. Its nostrils close to keep the sand out, its feet wide enough to walk on the soft ground without sinking. This isn't just an animal, it's an answer to the desert itself. Even the plants, the ones that seem almost invisible, have learned the art of patience. They grow where they can, their roots stretching deep beneath the surface, searching for water that most would never find. Some can go months, even years, without rain, waiting for the perfect moment to bloom, to take advantage of the briefest touch of moisture before retreating back into survival mode. This is what the Sahara teaches. It's not about fighting against the land, it's about understanding it. It's about knowing when to push forward and when to be still, when to take and when to wait. Because here, survival isn't guaranteed, it's earned.